Hello, everyone. My name is Keith Levison. I am the managing broker for MVP Realty here in the Orlando area. And as always, I am joined by the man. I have a niche that only he can itch. And we appreciate his constant help and knowledge, Nish with All County Property Management. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Thank you very much. I didn't think people didn't sign in or click on the video for comedy hours, but they got it though.
It's dad jokes. It's dad jokes, man.
I'm okay with that all day long.
All day long. That's all I got. That's all I got. And my
Do
wife
trees
asked me,
do trees poop?
do they?
How do we get number two pencils?
That's
But
amazing. I love it. I love it. Yes. And that's it. So if you're here to watch this video, it's going to be about 15 minutes of dad jokes. No. Um, but
that
my
should be one
wife, she
more.
always says to me, she goes, "You're the only one laughing." But that's how you know you've become a dad. That's how you
Exactly.
know. Um,
Or you pay your kids to fake laugh whenever you say a joke.
that gets expensive quick.
I'm good at negotiating.
Oh, that goes back to our last video. Wonderful. Well, today we kind of talked about it a little bit offline. We wanted to discuss having those hard conversations with our customers and or just people in general. And I'll start a little bit on our side. On our side, I have found that often many realtors will come to me and they're like, my seller doesn't want to do this, or my buyer wants to do this, or what should I do? And I mean, I hear this from so many people, not just individuals within our brokerage. I'm talking about realtors all across the country. I'm part of a bunch of networks. And a lot of times, what you find is they fail to prepare expectations. They fail to set boundaries in the beginning. So you get the buyer who is calling you at midnight and he's like, "I want to see this house tomorrow morning at 7 a.m." And they're freaking out. And when you are like, "I can't do that," and he's freaking out on you, well, it's because you answered his phone call at midnight. Send him to voicemail and then
Oh,
call him in the morning and say, "Hey, you called me at midnight. I was asleep." It sets
yeah,
a boundary, man. And
yeah.
but it prepares them for in the future. Now, when we got to talk about, hey, all the offers you've been submitting, they're far below what's going on in the current market. So if you think you're going to go in and compete with 4, 5, 6 offers and offer 10, 15, $20,000 below asking at this point, it's not going to happen. Or if you need to talk with the seller who said, "Yeah, I'll accept a conventional financed offer or an FHA offer," and you get under contract and all of a sudden you find out that roof is uninsurable, how are you going to have the conversation? If you set the boundaries at the beginning, if you set the expectations at the beginning, now when I sit down and I say, "Hey, I got some bad news," they already know I'm coming from a world of professionalism. And what I'm sharing with them is information they need to know to make the best decision possible. Um, so that's kind of what happens in our world. But I'm so curious, what happens in the property management world with, let's say a tenant, and you got to let them know you're not getting your security deposit back.
Yeah, so it's I like to always preface my conversations is that I'm being transparent with you. So what that means is that I'm being honest with you. I'm letting you know what the process is. I'm letting you know upfront how it's going to work. On our leases, we will send you a lease in regards to the security deposit and how much you will be around the neighborhood of how much you'll be charged for all these items if something were to go wrong in the property. So that's the first step. Second step is normally when a tenant loses out on their security deposit, I would say 9 times out of 10, they know that they're not getting their security deposit back. But unfortunately, if something happens and the property is damaged, we walk into the house and there is a hole in the wall that's the size of my face, then we have to go ahead and patch that and send that over. These are just part of the difficult conversations that we had, but we're transparent with them, which we show them how much we were charged as the property managers, and that charge is becoming your responsibility now because this is what the lease said. This is what you were responsible for. Putting it out in writing, being transparent, making sure they understand every aspect of it before that security deposit accounting comes via certified mail and doesn't surprise you.
Yeah. So it does seem like very similar. You're setting expectations in the beginning. Hey,
Yep.
here's the prices. You knew this when you moved in. You
Mhm.
already knew. But I'm curious now, on the other hand, that's more of a tenant. What about with a landlord? Some of these conversations I imagine you're having about they want to increase rent, or what can I push onto the tenants and make them pay for?
Yep.
How do you handle these things?
So if we use the same scenario as security deposit, and the security deposit, the owner comes and says they want to charge the tenant for the entire amount of painting the property. Well, painting the property, there's normal wear and tear. So this is something that you cannot charge the tenant for. If you did charge the tenant for it, then just be aware there is a legality behind it and that the tenant will most likely go to court and you will be stuck going to court in regards to it. My job for you as a landlord is to save you time, is to save you money and effort and take away the headaches. I call myself, I'm the aspirin. I'm the property manager. I'm the aspirin. I take away your headaches. So listen, that's what I'm trying to avoid from happening. So I'm speaking from experience and I'm letting you know, Mr. or Mrs. Owner, you should not charge for painting the entire home because this is considered normal wear and tear. Yes, I understand that it's going to be a pinch out of your pocket here in the beginning, but we hope to recoup that with your other tenants when we fill them into the property, hopefully at a higher rental rate. But again, it comes with being transparent about the entire situation and telling them that you're doing this as a benefit to them. It's no money in my pocket or the property manager's pocket. It's a security deposit that's held. It doesn't belong to anybody but the tenant. Now, if there is damages on your property, then yes, you're due those amounts, rightfully. But at the end of the day, we're just trying to save you a headache of having to go down the road. And what happens nowadays is that people believe that the tenants don't know. But if you know, in this market, tenants are very well versed. Buyers are really well versed on what the process is and what's going to go on in the background. So there's no fooling anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. People are much better educated now than they've ever been. Information is literally at people's fingertips, 24/7. Uh, I do find it interesting. You have mentioned, hey, if this happens, it will go to court or may go to court. I'm just curious, how often do you find that tenants exercise their legal rights or what they're able to do and say, no, I'm not doing this, we're going to go to court?
So out of 10 security deposits, as the security deposit accounting that you're doing, I would say about 50% respond back to you saying, hey, I shouldn't have been charged for this. I shouldn't have been charged for this. And so what we'll start with the process saying, okay, well, when you moved in, this is where the what the property looked like, and we have a full inspection with pictures. And now that you've moved out, this is what's happened, this is what's happened, this is what's happened. So if rightfully so, that they took a white painted room and they painted it pink for their daughter, it's going to cost, that's not normal wear and tear.
Hmm.
So that's something, logical. That's something that we can do. But now if the owner says, hey, I need you to charge them this amount, okay, Mr. Owner, I will charge them this amount, but they will come back. I can almost guarantee you. They come back and say, hey, I shouldn't be charged for replacing the entire carpet inside the entire house. That's normal wear and tear. Then I take that back to the owner and say, this is their response. In my opinion, my professional opinion and experience, you should take on that cost of replacing the carpet, not the tenant. Because if they were to go to court and it was to come in front of a judge, the judge will rule in their favor. Not only will you have to pay for replacing the carpet, but you'll have to pay for that person's attorney fees, if any.
Yeah. And, and that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is, everybody wants to come out a winner. And really, I think if we could just help people wrap their minds around the fact that stop by trying to be a winner and just try to think, how can you make these scales or this transaction as fair as possible? And that, quite honestly, is going to prevent the seller, the buyer, the landlord, the tenant from having so many headaches. Because look, if you did paint the room pink, is it fair that the landlord now has to come back in and paint it white? Just, stop and think. And I think if people kind of did that, we may not experience as many issues as we do. But I also believe that's where it's our responsibility as professionals to kind of, in a sense, jar them and wake them up and say, hey, you're not being fair.
Exactly. I agree. That is the tough conversation that you have to have. But if you built that transparency from the beginning, then they understand that that's all you're doing is being transparent with them, and you're doing for the benefits of it. For example, and this could be a whole episode, is that a lot of times we'll get homeowners who lived in their home for 10 years, but they decided to purchase another property and rent this one out. My biggest advice is, if you have a property that you're going to rent out now, it is no longer your home. It is an investment property. First of all, understand there's risk and reward to it, but you need to take the emotions out of it. You need to take the emotions out of it. If somebody didn't treat the carpet the same way you did, or somebody didn't do this or clean the microwave after using it, it's a rental property now. It is not your own personal home. It's not an Airbnb that you're renting out for just a week while you're on vacation. No, it is somebody who's living there long term. So you have to understand it's an investment property. You have to take your emotions out of it, understand it from the business side of things.
100%. And it almost made me think of, like, if you could imagine, you're staying at a hotel and, you get back from a day of hanging out or doing whatever. And there's the hotel manager standing at your door and he's like, hey, you didn't make your bed. I don't like where you put your bag. When you brought your bag in, you scraped that wall. And your kids, I heard that, like, what would you do? And it's true. It when you move into the world of investment, and quite honestly, that's one reason I really love the world of investments, is it's so much less emotion.
Yes.
But you have to understand that if you're moving into it. It cannot be about how you're emotionally attached to the property. It has to be about being, quite honestly, the best landlord possible.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, we could have a whole episode about that, because I have a lot of tips and tricks for first time investors, and just not tips and tricks necessarily what to do, but just how to mentally prepare yourself.
Well, let's do it. We're going to do it. It's going to be a whole episode. So, if you are interested in learning more about that, please comment below. That way we know it's a great topic. Also, like, subscribe, share the video. As always, if you have any property management needs, Nish is your guy. He's my guy. I love him. He's amazing. But also, if you're looking for a brokerage to come and work at as a realtor, reach out to me. I'd love to have a conversation with you. And we appreciate all of your support as we make these videos. The goal is really to give good content and great information. And I hope we're doing that for the community. So you guys have a great day. And Nish, get ready. We're going to prepare
Oh,
that topic.
absolutely. Here's a wrench in the twist. I'm gonna throw in there. If you have a good dad joke, put it in the comments. We might mention it in our next episode.
You got to do it. You got to do it. If I don't see a dad joke, I'm going to be sad. All right, guys. Have a great
Have a
day.
good one.
Thank you.